The question reads, determine possible rational zeros by the rational zero theorem, and then test each one to find all rational zeros. The rational zero theorem we often denote as P over Q is equal to factors of the constant over factors of the leading coefficient. So we're looking for factors of 15, that's my constant, and the factors of 15, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 15. 1 times 15 is 15. 3 times 5 is 15. Over factors of my leading coefficient, in this case 2, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2. So my possible rational zeros are plus or minus 1, 1 over 1, plus or minus 1 over 2, 1 over 2, that's 1/2, plus or minus 3, 3 over 1, plus or minus 3 over 2, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 5 over 2, plus or minus 15, plus or minus 15 over 2. These are my possible rational zeros. So there are 16 of those. I'm not going to test all 16. The video becomes incredibly long then. But I will show you how to test and then write out which ones, if any, work. To test, we will plug each of these numbers in separately into the original question. So we have f of 1. And that will give us 2 times 1 to the 4th, plus 3 times 3 times 1 cubed, minus 11 times 1 squared, minus 9 times 1, plus 15. This is a good time to have a calculator handy. So 2 plus 3 is 5, minus 11 is 6, minus 6. 2 plus 3 minus 11 minus 9 plus 15 gives me 0. Since my remainder is 0, 1 is a solution, 1 is a possible factor. 1 is a factor, so 1 is a solution. So we'll plug in a negative 1. Negative 1 gives me a positive 12. That's not 0, so we're not going to worry about that one. Have f of 1/2 gives me about 8.25. That's not 0, so I continue on. Have f of a negative 1/2 That gives me about 16.5. That's not 0, so I'm not going to worry about it. I have f of 3 gives me 132. Not what I'm looking for. F of a negative 3 gives me 24. Once again, still not what I'm looking for, so I will keep looking. F of 3 halves gives me a negative 3. F of a negative 3 halves gives me 3.75. Not what I'm looking for. Have f of 5 gives me 1,320. Not what I'm looking for. Have f of negative 5 gives me 660. Not what I'm looking for. So f of 5 halves gives me about 48.75. Once again, not what I'm looking for. So f of negative 5 halves gives me 0. That's what I'm looking for. So that's going to be an answer. I'll write them all when I find them all. I have f of 15 gives me 108,780. F of negative 15 gives me 88,800. F of 15 halves I get 6,922.5. And last but not least is the opposite of 15 halves. I get 4,526.3. So looking at this list, I only have 2 zeros, and those are my answers for my rational zeros. Negative 5 halves and 1. The other 2 answers are either irrational or imaginary.